In an effort to promote integration and prevent the ghettoization of Muslim communities, the bill proposes mandatory Italian sermon. And then, of course, there is mandatory disclosure of financial sources. To prevent foreign funding that could promote extremism, the bill proposes the mandatory disclosure of financial sources for mosques. Some Italians view it as a legitimate security measure. Reactions to the proposed law have been sharply divided. Muslim organizations and human rights groups, which are basically another extension of Muslim organizations, condemn it as discriminatory and Islamophobic, asserting that it fosters suspicion and stigmatization of an already marginalized community.
Welcome to TFI Global, the antidote to mass delusion.
Italy is currently grappling with a heated debate surrounding a proposed bill put forth by the country's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who is supposed to be quite tough against Islamists. The bill aims to introduce measures that Meloni asserts will enhance transparency and curb potential radicalization within mosques. However, the contentious nature of the proposed legislation has ignited strong opinions on both sides of the spectrum, raising crucial questions about the delicate balance between national security and religious freedom. The bill comprises 4 main provisions that have become focal points of discussion and contention. One of the bill's proposals involves imposing a ban on the construction of new mosques. Supporters argue that the existing number of mosques is sufficient and that allowing further construction may exacerbate societal tension. Then, the bill suggests a mandatory registration process for imams, aiming to track and vet preachers to ensure alignment with Italian values and laws. Critics find this requirement intrusive. Well, I personally don't. They are now raising concerns about potential suppression of dissenting religious voices. Then there are mandatory Italian sermons. In an effort to promote integration and prevent the ghettoization of Muslim communities, the bill proposes mandatory Italian sermon. And then, of course, there is mandatory disclosure of financial sources. To prevent foreign funding that could promote extremism, the bill proposes the mandatory disclosure of financial sources for mosques. Some Italians view it as a legitimate security measure. Reactions to the proposed law have been sharply divided. Muslim organizations and human rights groups, which are basically another extension of Muslim organizations, condemn it as discriminatory and Islamophobic, asserting that it fosters suspicion and stigmatization of an already marginalized community. Supporters from Meloni's right-wing coalition defend the bill as necessary to combat Islamism, that's political Islam, and protect national security, claiming it mirrors measures imposed on other religions in Italy. Currently, Meloni's party is drafting a bill that would forbid Muslim prayer areas outside of mosques. The draft measure being examined in the Environment Committee of Parliament is opposed by opposition legislators who claim that if it is passed, it will impede religious freedom. According to local media, a draft law aimed at outlawing Muslim prayer areas outside of mosques has been produced by a right-wing coalition party under Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's leadership in the Italian government. The Daily 24 Ore stated on Saturday that the Brothers of Italy, that is FDL, party's measure, which is presently being discussed in Parliament's Environment Committee, seeks to outlaw the use of garages and industrial warehouses as mosques. I don't see anything wrong in this. The newspaper stated that the Italian state has prohibited cultural and religious organizations from using a property as a place of worship unless they have an agreement with the state place. It further stated that the Muslim community in the country has not signed any such agreements. The Daily stated that members of the Parliament's Environment Committee representing opposition parties opposed the bill, claiming that if it passed, it would impede religious freedom. It is a bill that clearly discriminates against Muslims and does not respect the Italian constitution that protects all citizens living in Italy, said Sami Salem, the imam or prayer leader at the Magliana Mosque in Rome, in an interview with the Daily. Another imam serving the Muslim minority in the northern province of Florence is Zeddin El-Zir, told the Daily he had doubts about the draft law's legitimacy. Well, Giorgia Meloni never misses an opportunity to touch a raw nerve with loaded comments about Islam. According to various media reports just a month back, Meloni's potentially explosive observation came at a political event held by the far-right Brothers of Italy in Rome, where she reportedly said that there is no place for Islamic culture in Europe. I believe that there is a problem of compatibility between Islamic culture and the values and rights of our civilization, Meloni was reported to have said. Again, so wrong. Nothing. I don't think so. The Islamic culture centers in Italy are financed by Saudi Arabia, where Sharia is enforced. In Europe, there is a very Islamization process distant from the values of our civilization. She added, the problem stems from Europe's current refugee crisis, which has seen tens of thousands of migrants, mostly from Africa or West Asia, pour onto the continent in search of safety from conflict or dire poverty back home. It so happens that the vast majority of these refugees are Muslim. In addition to being present at the ceremony, British Prime Minister Rishisunak might have fanned flames by announcing that the threat of growing number of refugees could overwhelm parts of Europe. If we do not tackle the problem, the numbers will only grow. It will overwhelm our countries and our capacity to help those who actually need our help the most, Sunak observed. Sunak seems to be the only Tory Prime Minister with some brains because none of his predecessors said anything of this sort ever. As stated in the statement, Sunak would push for global reforms to the asylum system. He went on to say that some enemies were deliberately driving people to our shores to try and destabilize our societies. Goes Sunak. If that requires us to update our laws and lead an international conversation to amend the post-war frameworks around asylum, then we must do that, the British Prime Minister added. In addition of moving back to Giorgia Meloni, a video from 2018 that was just discovered again has brought up Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's opinions on the coexistence of Islamic culture and European ideals. She voiced a belief, a compatibility problem between a certain understanding of Islamic culture and the rights and values inherent in European civilization in the film, which was recorded prior to Meloni taking on her post. The video went viral after UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak attended a Rome event hosted by Meloni's party Brothers of Italy. The release of the film at the right time and the recent high-profile event have sparked a public conversation about diversity and the assimilation of varied communities into European society. Reactions to Meloni's comments have been mixed. Some support her freedom to voice her opinions on cultural compatibility, while others condemn her for possibly inciting conflict. The film that has surfaced again casts doubt on right-wing officials' position towards the matter of religious and cultural diversity, adding another level of scrutiny to Italy's political environment. But let me say what we think and where TFI Global stands on this. Meloni is 100% right. There's absolutely no denying the facts. Yes, the facts that she stated. Now, in the midst of Italy's heated debate over Meloni's proposed bill targeting Muslim prayer spaces, the nation grapples with a delicate balance between national security and religious freedom. The outcome of this contentious discussion will undoubtedly shape the country's approach to religious minorities and integration. Well, again, go Meloni and go Sunak.